You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel.
And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another disappointing, embarrassing, disgusting episode of, well, we're not disgusting, but the play was of the assembly call as today your Indiana Hoosiers lose 76-64 in a game that was not that close. 5 points in the last 30 seconds made the margin a lot closer. The loss brings Indiana's record now to 14-9, 5-7 in the Big Ten, likely somewhere in the 9, 10, 11 place in the Big Ten. This game was over before it started, and there's really nothing we could say that is really too positive about tonight. Within 6 minutes, it's 26-4 in favor of Wisconsin. Just an absolute inattention to the strengths of the Wisconsin Badgers. Shooting threes, transition, not guarding people in transition, stagnant offense to start the first half, and got down 20 and had to take their second timeout. And then I'll talk about this here in just a little bit. Bryson Tucker comes in, hits a couple threes, and Indiana was able to get it back to within 12, but early in the second half, more of the same for your Indiana Hoosiers, a lack of attention to guarding the bounce, the attacking of the lane, the mismatches in a changed lineup. Woodson changed the lineup. That really didn't work. Got up to 20 a couple times, and like I said, late, putting pressure on when Wisconsin had pretty much shut it down with some substitutions, got Indiana back to within the 12 points. Just a tough night for all of us. So I'm glad you're here in the chat as we can just kind of commiserate. It's a 6th loss in 7 games, 3 really bad games in that, 3 competitive somewhat losses with bad execution down the stretch, 1 win in the last 7 games with 8 games left for your Indiana Hoosiers. I'm your host, Coach Brian Tonsoni, here with Ryan Phillips. Jared Morris will be joining us shortly. We're going to break it down for you on this edition of the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. But let's start the way we start every show, and that's with our banner moment. On nights like this, I'm going to be brutally honest tonight. Game balls and hustle awards and banner moments are really tough for this guy when you sit there and watch 2 hours of the basketball that we just watched. But it is what we do, and it is what we believe. I think the banner moment for me was in that run after getting down 26-6. Bryson Tucker stepped up and hit a 3, and he's known for his pull-up game and his twos, and he's been sitting out for a while. Didn't play much at Purdue, and he comes in, and his shot looks a lot better. It looked like it was elevated, a lot more arch in it, and that was – he also hit his second one a couple possessions down the road, so that's 2 threes in a span of a couple minutes. He only had 1 3 prior to that for the entire season, I believe. So our banner moment tonight is good for Bryson Tucker to see that shot falling. I thought he did some other things. We can maybe talk about him if we want to find some positives. I thought he rebounded well. I thought he was one, if maybe the only one that was totally positive on the night. But Bryson Tucker hitting a couple threes is going to be our banner moment. Our banner moment today, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel, now in our 8th season sponsoring the Assembly Call, and 4th as presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network. They have the largest collection of vintage IU apparel that you will find anywhere. And since IU is their flagship school, you know more high-quality gear with unique IU logos from the past is always right around the corner, like the recent knit sweaters with the Script Indiana University logo on them. And it's not just IU stuff. They have over 180 schools on their site now, which makes Home Field the perfect one-stop shop for yourself and any gifts that you ever need for family and friends. There's new hockey jerseys out. I just got the Corso Indiana sweatshirt in the mail today, or delivered today. Put it on. That's going to be baseball wearing when it's a little cold down there at Bart Kaufman. It's definitely going to be football wearing. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from Home Field. But that Lee Corso Block Indiana sweatshirt is really, really good. So check out their social networks, text alerts, emails, find out what the latest promo code is. But you can go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. That's promo code HOME23 for 15% off Once again, the website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. Now it's time to move the ball, find the open man, and get some opening thoughts from the rest of our team. And right now, the rest of our team is the one and only shot doctor, Ryan Phillips. Ryan, bad ball game tonight. Let's hear your rant, buddy.
I got to ask, did anybody expect anything differently? And you look at the final score and like, oh, they lost by 12 on the roll of the Colts. That's a 20-point game. Let's be 100% real. That is a 20-point loss. And the last few minutes was just symbolic of Indiana's season. Basically, your starting lineup on the floor chasing points against another team's walk-ons for the metrics. And that is, if you want to paint a mural of this season, it would be Indiana's starters scoring points against the other team's worst players at the end of a blowout loss. And the players looked uninspired. Robbie Hummel said it, it's like, effort isn't this team's problem. It's knowing what the hell to do. And they just don't. They can't guard anybody on the perimeter at all. They get discouraged, shrug their shoulders, look like they could want to be anywhere other than that. There's periods of bursts of good stuff with, like you said, with Bryson Tucker. Like, there's little stuff in games where it's like a burst and you're like, where's that? Like, how can you not bottle that up? Other teams do. And it's an indictment of the program. It really is. And the Kohl Center, you always chalk that as a loss for Indiana. And I'll be honest, you need to get somebody in there to change things. And I think we all kind of know where this is headed. This season has been there's still time to maybe turn it around, but this season has been a failure. 14-9, 5-7 in the league when you were picked to compete for the Big Ten title. And you have all the talent you need to win. And I know a lot of people during this well, do they have talent? Yes, they have talent. It is misdirected and it is used in different ways. And on the floor, they do not look like they fit together. All of those things are true. But as far as talent goes, yes, they have talent. It's just not utilized properly. And I'll say this, I think, we're not going to talk big picture, what's coming at the end of the season. But Indiana has been trying to recapture Bob Knight's culture for 40 years and trying to recapture 30 plus years, recapture what he did at Indiana. And that's completely misguided. What you need to do is create your own culture, because what worked in 1976 to 1993 or early 2000s isn't going to work now. So you need to develop some kind of culture of accountability around your program that has not existed for a long time. And that's when you don't have that, you get nights like tonight. You get nights like Illinois. You get nights like Iowa. There is no accountability top down. And that needs to change. And that's the single biggest thing that needs to change about Indiana. And if you are going to change coaches at the end of the year, if you are going to flip the program on its head, you need to get somebody in here who is not looking back, but is looking forward and create something new. That's how you turn Indiana basketball around, not by continuing to look in the past and talk about your banners and talk about the good old days. You create new good days. That's how you turn a program around. And that's what needs to happen at Indiana.
The chat has some interesting comments. I'm going to put one up here. David Hanley, body language is glaringly bad. Yeah, in most games. David, it's inexcusable when you're playing for Indiana or really any sport. Your body language matters. And we've talked about this a lot, about inability to take punches. And when teams can shoot the three ball and hit a punch, we don't take punches. And you can say what you want, like they played their best game against Purdue. Well, it doesn't mean anything unless you come out and play another great game, even in defeat. If you did against Wisconsin, you have to play 10 games on the road. You have to play 10 games at home in one of the best conferences in the league, in the country. You've got to play with heart and passion. Every night you step on that floor, you got to pay attention to detail to a scouting report and know that Wisconsin can shoot threes. You got to find people in transition. You got to be closer on closeouts to 3-point. Like, none of that happened in getting down 26-4. 26-4. Where's the preparation? Where's the desire? Where's the heart? It is just unbelievable to me that you can get beat in 6 minutes by 22 points in a college game where supposedly you do have talent. And I know what you're saying about the talent level, Ryan, and I get it, but it is segmented talent. Yeah, it's segmented. We got shooters who can't guard. We got point guards who don't play off 2 feet, but they look good when they throw the alley-oop. I mean, we have people who are good at certain things but not good at a lot of things. And then it's just not a talented roster together, combined, because you play 2 bigs early and their bigs hit threes because we can't close out defensively. And then we put in the small lineup and you kind of come back a little bit down to 12 at halftime. This is just a complete mess right now for basketball in the last few years, but even in this last 6 or 7 games. And I don't know how it gets fixed with the schedule going forward.
I mean, it's as simple as fundamentals, Coach. I mean, it's as simple as fundamentals. It's as simple as knowing where to be on defense. It's as simple as knowing where to be on defense, knowing like you said, the scouting report, knowing your opponent, knowing where they're going to be, knowing where their strengths lie so you can combat that. On offense, knowing where the holes are on the other team. I mean, it's basic stuff, and it feels like they run the same thing every week. No matter who the opponent is, no matter what the opponent runs, no matter what the opponent does to counter, they run the same thing every single week and it fails, and they don't change. They don't change and they don't alter it. It's like they think continuing to do so will somehow turn it around. And it's that they're not running it right. That's the problem, when really it's that these guys don't fit what they're trying to do, or these guys can't do the thing they need to do. And so I don't know. I think it's just a top to bottom failure. And I'm including the athletic department people in this as well. There needs to be accountability there too. And there needs to be accountability from up there to the bottom level, to the players, to the managers, to whatever, because that's how you start to build culture, is when you hold each other, and then the players hold each other accountable. You don't need coaches to do it, but it doesn't look like anybody's holding anybody to anything. Luke Goody, we've seen him try this year really hard to hold people accountable. It's not happening. And I just think it needs to, it's more apparent every week that it's the same thing every game. And we're expecting, at this point we're not, but people expect something different somehow, and it's not going to happen.
Ryan, you're spot on there too. And it kind of, you're down 20 and the game's probably over. But, you have that 3-point shot. You could take threes, and threes are more than twos, and we're passing up wide open threes to drive to the basket in the last 4 minutes of the game. And I'm not saying that Indiana had a chance of winning it, but take some threes if you were open. You got to take some chances when you're down 6-7 possessions if you take threes. Running pick and roll lobs and post ups in the last 3 minutes, and that's exactly what you're saying about. They know one thing: they are going to go into the post, they are going to pick and roll, do the Chicago handoff action, and try to get the point guard to the rim. And if they kick out for a 3, that's where they're going to get their threes. And there's no creativity whatsoever offensively, and it's the same thing on defensive too. I thought it's just disappointing to me. I thought they really guarded well against Purdue and took away the 3. Didn't overhelp, and they come out tonight and didn't do that. And you are right on when you say that it is the same thing over and over and over again, and that has to go back to the top, the leadership, the coaching staff, all of this together. If you've lost 6 and a 7, now we say that. And I want to get your thoughts on this. There was a change in the lineup at halftime, which we haven't seen in 4 years. Generally, your starters would come
shocked.
Back up. I was dumbfounded. I had to write it down real quick so I wouldn't forget it. And it was interesting. One big. But then here's
I don't understand why.
That.
Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
But then the problem was, They have guys who can shoot the 3 that are 7-1, and they can post your 6-7 4 up and go to the rim, and immediately, here's the truth, and then I'll get on the chain. Greg Gard put on a coaching clinic tonight, and And that's why you win by 20. I know it was only 12, but it was an easy win for Wisconsin because of the coach on the other end doing things to help his team win a basketball game. But your thoughts on the lineup change at halftime? That's something.
What I'll say is, why has this not been the starting lineup? Like, why have they not been using the one big lineup? I mean, it's very obvious that they keep. And Robbie Hubbell's even saying on the broadcast, "Well, Malik Reneau is still getting his legs." Back under him and all this stuff. It's like, okay, so start Luke Goody. Don't ease him back in with a 30-minute night, if you're projecting that. But, he only played 17 minutes and he started. Anthony Lillard only played 11 minutes and he started. I think you should start Luke Goody. The team's better with him on the floor, and you were down 20 early, with that too big lineup. And they're two bigs who can't go out on the perimeter, who aren't great defenders outside of the lane. Malik Reneau, not really a great defender in the lane either. But then you put yourself behind the 8 ball so far that when you finally do make the correct adjustment, it doesn't matter. You're too far behind to do anything about it. And I just don't understand the adherence to a system that is clearly not working. The fact that somebody on that bench, somebody somewhere, has to convince Mike Woodson this does not work. I don't care how much you're paying everybody. I don't care what kind of, what you had to promise them to get them to come here. They aren't performing on the floor the way they need to. Something needs to change, and you need to change your system and alter your system. Good coaches adjust based on circumstance. Good programs can weather adjustments on the fly. Indiana is neither of those, right? Has neither of those right now, the ability to do either of those. And so it's the same thing we saw last week, same thing we saw the week before, same thing we saw the week before, same thing we saw the week before, same thing we saw last year. It's just straight down the line, the exact same thing over and over and over again. And the refrain coming into the season was, we got guards now. He went out and got players. So they'll fit the system. This is it. They'll open it up a little more. For 2.5 years, we've heard they're going to open it up a little bit more. It's not happening. And so there is no change. There's no will to change. And there is no will to do something different to shake things up. A sub at halftime, a change to the lineup at halftime, that's literally the absolute least you can do to shake things up. And it didn't do a whole lot.
Well,
it's the correct move. It's the correct move, but it didn't really do much.
Right. And he tried to shake things up by inserting Leo into the starting lineup for Galloway. You're trying to play whack-a-mole now to figure out why you're losing games. And I don't think Galloway was great tonight by any means too, but if this team's going to win, Galloway gets his 6-7 assists and scores double figures and guards. Maybe he needed to grab some bench to get motivated. I have no problem with that. It's just the answers I don't think are on the roster. I don't think the answers are in the current philosophy, as you said, of offense and defense. I don't think you can just go fine tune what we're already doing and then win 8 games in a row to get into the tournament. Which is
agreed.
It's going to take 6 or 7 wins now to probably get in the tournament. And this just isn't a tournament. Let's be honest. This is not a tournurnament team. They've beaten Ohio State in overtime. And even when they play well, I don't think,
is Penn State still a quad one? The road win at Penn
State? Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that had slipped out yet.
So just because you ask, Indiana is now 2-9 in quad one. And so if they win every one of their games, they're 1 game above 500 again in the good games. Now, they play a lot of them, and they have no bad losses. And I know they had a 4-game, 5-game winning streak at the end last year. But
those were against weaker teams.
It's going to have to be quite the effort to do that. And then here's the truth too. This is not good basketball to watch, and if you sneak your way into the tournament, some ways, and get an 11 seed or get in a play-in game, That's not where Indiana basketball needs to be, or none of the fans in this chat staying up late at night
not in year 4
either.
Not in year 4.
And I not in year 4, and not just
it
because
be
the
in year
previous
2
coach didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
yeah.
We're better than Archie and got to the tournament 3 out of 4 times. Man, that's not Indiana basketball. That's not the Indiana basketball that I like. Again, winning at Wisconsin's tough, Ryan. But not getting down 26 to 4. That's the story of tonight.
No,
just
of course.
Complete failure at the beginning of the game is the story tonight.
Yeah, and Mike Woodson was not hired to be better than Archie Miller. Plenty of people could be hired to be better. Yeah, Coach, I'm sorry, you would be better than what Archie Miller was, because you would not be set in your ways. You'd spread things out. You'd shoot the 3. You'd guard the ball. But it's this idea that, but if they get into the tournament, no, you're right. The standard is higher here because of the resources. You can say, the standard isn't higher because of Indiana's history. The standard is higher because of the resources put into the program. They spent well over $5 million on this roster. They have made improvements to the facilities. They have made improvements to Assembly Hall. They have backed everything that they've wanted, and to have these results. And then on top of it, to be losing recruits, the recruiting battles for guys from Indiana, to be losing out on, I don't even have to go over everything. Everybody knows, and everybody knows where this is going, and everybody knows we're going to play out the string and this is going to happen. But I just think that the on-court product, the stubbornness to not change anything, except for a small lineup change here. You're still running the same stuff with different guys. And so I just don't understand. If your job was on the line and somebody said to you, hey, we need to turn this around, would you do the same thing you were doing the week before? Or would you say, no, I got to step it up. I got to change something. I got to fix this. I got to get to rally these guys. I've got to do something. I wouldn't run the same stuff I've run for 3 years, and that hasn't worked at all for the last 2. So, that's the way you have to look at it, is like, how badly do you want the job? How badly do you want the job? If you want the job, you'll fight for it and you'll do things differently. And if you don't, you won't. That's where we're at. And so I just think that that's where we're at. It's Indiana, and I'm not even mad about it. I'm just kind of like, this is where we thought it was. And so, yeah, a big loss at Wisconsin is never fun. It's happened to Indiana way too many times, but it's the absolute malaise of the program after you spent so much effort getting this roster together. That's the problem for me. That stands out for me. And it's just disappointing because it's exactly what we went through last year, and it's no different with different players.
Well, let's end segment 1 with a little bit positive. This weekend, you and I are going to be in Bloomington representing Assembly Call. We got a bunch of Back Home Network people going to meet together. The meetup is February 8th. Galen and Scott Caulfield will be at Upstairs Breakfast Club at 9 o'clock. No cover. First 200 people in the door get a free shirt and breakfast courtesy of Jack Fire. And then the game day presentation, I think Galen and Scott will be at Upstairs during the game. You and I are probably going to go to Assembly Hall and watch the game against Michigan. And then after the game, there'll be a gathering. And I think we're going to try to do a show of some sort at Upstairs. Doing a live show at probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock or so when we get back.
Whenever everybody can meander over
the
arena. Yeah.
Yeah, so come see us. We'll be out and about a little bit on Friday night if you bump into us, but definitely Saturday at Upstairs.
Yeah, come say hi,
coming
everybody.
Come say hi, everybody. We look forward to.
Yeah, if you see us at the arena, say hi to us. Come say hi. We love seeing you guys, and then definitely come to Upstairs. It's going to be a lot of fun. Galen's probably going to co-host with us, which is always an adventure. Scott's going to have a mic in his hand. Again, always an adventure. And yeah, it'll be a blast. Come say hi and let's have fun. Let's have a drink together.
That's coming up this weekend. But coming up on this show, we continue our breakdown of Indiana's loss to Wisconsin. We'll point out some meaningful moments you might have missed, if there were some, and then go inside the numbers to highlight the most important stats from the game. You're listening to the Assembly Call. Stick with us.
This is Ethan Happ, and I never listen to the assembly call, especially the episodes that Ryan is on.
Me neither, Ethan.
Sorry, Ethan, we don't like you or the Badgers after tonight, but we do like Ryan. You're listening, Ian, you're listening to the assembly call. If you just gave that shout out there. Postgame show, I'm Brian Tonsoni here with Ryan Phillips. We're breaking down Indiana's loss tonight. Their sixth loss in 7 games. Tonight it was to Wisconsin by 12 points. Really was more like a 20-point loss. But now it's time for meaningful moments you might have missed.
Meaningful moments that you might have missed.
This segment is brought to you by our friends at Hoosier Ticket Project, where they help individuals and families experience Indiana University athletic events in person for the first time through the generosity of alumni and fans. To learn more about how you can donate money or extra tickets to help create meaningful moments for other IU fans, visit HoosierTicketProject.org. That's HoosierTicketProject.org. I'm going to start out one on Wisconsin since, we're talking about Indiana, a meaningful moment. Blackwell fouling with 2.6 seconds left on the offensive rebound, loose ball, giving free throw attempts to Indiana. That drives a coach crazy. I know everyone probably saw that. What drives a coach even more crazy, Ryan, is when you have a chance to cut the lead down to 10 and your point guard misses the front end of a 1-and-1 at 2.6 and misses out on the free gifted free throws. A meaningful moment that I wish I had missed, because Indiana could have been down 10 and then maybe, just maybe, pulled something out. As far as the basketball goes, again, it's hard to watch for technical stuff when it's 26-4. I'm not going to lie to all of you guys. I'm here for just some cathartic complaining and helping you guys get through tonight. I think the inability, you didn't miss this, but it's meaningful. The inability to stop the drive in the second half, the inability to cover the 3-point and giving up 8 or 9 threes and a half. It's happened in close losses. It's happened tonight in a blowout loss. Those are moments we want to miss, and we're not. We're having them happen, which really puts us in a tough situation. I'm trying to think if there's anything else basketball-wise that I can share from a coaching standpoint. I would say this too. I think what you got to try to do is, I don't see much energy coming from the coaching staff, and I'm gonna be honest here. I've held back a lot this year. Stuff happens bad, but you still had 32 minutes left to try to claw back into the game, and I don't see that fight very often. The fight comes when the matchups are there because of the team, but you still could have clawed back in this game because Wisconsin was taking some really bad shots. Tanji was forcing shots once they got up big. He was trying to get his points, and there were moments there where Indiana could get back, but I don't see a lot of encouragement, and I know it's tough. Everyone's down. But as a coach, you've got to go into every game forgetting what's in the past, and I think part of the problem is there's no juice on that sidelines. It's just stare at the play and maybe a little yelling at certain times. But I think the players play with that.
It's very NBA. It's very let the players figure it out. And college basketball is not the NBA. It's not. The guys aren't as mature as NBA players. They're not as skilled as NBA players. Their games haven't developed as much as NBA players. They're not the peak athletes in the world like NBA players. Apparently, other than Luka Doncic, apparently he's not a peak athlete, according to the Dallas Mavericks. But it's too passive from the coaches. The best college coaches are intense, not in like a demoralizing way necessarily, but they get on their players. They're directing their players. They're involved with their players in huddles. They're telling them what to do. Play to play, they're calling out plays, they're calling out defense, they're reading the opponent and countering. Like, that's what the best college coaches do. Watch the top teams in the country. How many of those coaches don't have energy on the bench and are just kind of passive and just kind of stand there and stare? Not a lot of them. That's not even Coach K at whatever he was, 97 years old, was yelling at Duke's players in his last season. It's not a game with a lack of intensity. In the NBA, coaches basically chill for 3 quarters and then get involved in the fourth. That's not college basketball. I've said it since day one of the Mike Woodson hire, is that the difference between NBA and college basketball is the difference between baseball and softball. Completely different games with some of the same rules. And that transition has not happened. That translation has not happened. Could it happen? Hey, we got a season left. Maybe tomorrow the switch flips and everything changes. But as of now, it's like we said, it's the same thing. It's a lack of intensity. It's a lack of enthusiasm, a lack of focus, and a lack of an attention to detail by the players, almost like the players are supposed to do it on their own. That's not how this works at this level. It's not how it works. So,
you know what I like FS1 does? They mic up the coaches. I don't think I've ever heard Mike Woodson mic'd up. Has he ever been? And to hear inside his huddle, you hear some really interesting things from different coaches, have different philosophies of how they're handling timeouts and everything. And you know, I like Shaka Smart, and I just love when they have him mic'd up in the huddle. The other night they were really pressing, and he said, "Relax, it's okay to make a mistake, but you can't make a mistake and then not sprint back on the other end." And all he did that whole timeout was trying to get the guys to relax a little bit. And I'm sure Coach does that to some extent in his own way, in his own personality. But it's not working, you know. It's not working because the inconsistencies happen from game to game and within the game. You know, the last two real close games where Indiana kind of put it together, there's not good communication at the end of the games on what needs to be done, and Indiana loses two real close games. And then in some other games, you're getting blown out by 20. It's just what is being done, Ryan, it's not working. And I'm at a loss for how to talk about this. And I haven't been on the last 2 or 3 shows. It's just
lucky you.
Same things that happen. Yeah, same things that happen over and over. But no, that's all the meaningful moments I have. I don't. Yeah. Again, I did not write.
I think
down a whole lot of
the only
notes
meaning.
today.
The meaningful section for Indiana was Bryson Tucker's play in that stretch where he hit a couple shots. I mean, that's a peek at the future, right. And he's a bucket getter, and he can be, and he's a freshman, so he's not doing it consistently, but he's a guy who can go get a bucket and has a lot of upside, and that's a glimpse at the future if you want something meaningful to come out of this. And I think that he's certainly a guy that we need to keep an eye on. And as the season goes, you know, if this thing falls apart, give that kid more playing time, give him a chance to do some things.
Yeah. All right, now it's time, Ryan, to go inside the numbers, brought to you by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. If you live in Bloomington or the surrounding areas and you want your taxes done right, contact our friend and Chat Mob Hall of Famer Megan Mahaffey and her team in Bloomington, Bedford, and Martinsville by calling 812-339-3334 or visiting jacksonhewitt.com. I'll take a quick look. Do you have anything right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin 12 of 29. Wisconsin 12 of 29 from 3, 41.4%. Indiana 7 of 27, 25.9%. So they crushed Indiana on the 3-point line, and then points in the paint were even. So, I mean, you're getting no advantage anywhere.
Indiana was better in the second half, but again, some of that points per possession, they ended up 1.016 on the game. Some of that was the late game scoring. When you score 5 points real quick in the last 2 possessions, that helps that number for offensive efficiency. Defensively, they gave up 1.188. And again, I think Wisconsin didn't score in the last 2 minutes. So stats are stats, but they sometimes don't tell the story. There, Indiana had 11 turnovers on the game, which is you can deal with that a little bit, but they didn't shoot well. And I think what the stats show me is it's just execution, right?
Yep.
Plain and simple. Fundamentals, and execution, and attention to the scouting report, and you know, I think those things show up, and then you put shot making in there. If you're making shots, you can cover up some of that stuff, right?
Well, the other thing is you said that the turnovers weren't bad. You know, they had 11, but Wisconsin had 18 points off of turnovers, and they're not a team that does that gets out and scores off of stuff like that. And so allowing that while also allowing them to shoot like crazy out of their half-court offense is, I mean, just a recipe for disaster. I mean, plus minus. Obviously, we say it's a flawed stat, but Miles Rice was +4, Bryson Tucker was +3. That's it in the positive for Indiana. You got -22 for Anthony Leo, -7 for Malik, -16 for Ballo, -17 for Mackenzie Mbako. Like, it was bad. I mean, bad. And there was no combination that really made it better until Wisconsin took their starters out and took their rotation guys out at the end. So, it is what it is.
I know we've
just don't
talked
think
about
that,
this. Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to get your position on this. I'm sure we've talked about it, or you've been on the show and talked about it too, but you got a guy like Miles Rice who's now struggled for a few games, with some execution late and and then he's getting some grief from players, from fans for the last couple games that he's lost, but he doesn't look like the Miles Rice that started the season, the confident level. You had Mbako go 0 for 17 over a stretch and then have a couple real nice games. He was there tonight. He did a couple nice things tonight, but you're seeing individual players be inconsistent. What is that? Why is it happening in your opinion? And then what can a coach do to kind of help that even out and then maximize what these guys can do? Because I'm a big Rice fan, but he's been pretty bad lately.
Miles Rice, I would never say that kid's like not mentally tough given the things he's been through in his life. Right. So it's not that. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean that I think there is a confidence that has been shattered there, and it's a struggle for him right now. And I don't think it's a toughness, mentally toughness thing or whatever. He's been through worse in his life. I just think that right now his confidence is fragile. And we didn't see that early in the year. He's not decisive with the ball. He's not decisive with his shots. He's not decisive when he attacks. He's not decisive finding open players. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it turned, but that's the gully he's in right now. Mbako was that way for a while too. And tonight he certainly was not shy. He was 1 of 7 from 3 and just kept shooting. But yeah, I think this is a team that is just fragile. And they shouldn't be. They're talented. These guys have all, like Miles Rice was really good at Washington State last year. Mackenzie Mbako was thought to be a lottery pick coming out of high school. Umar Ballo was the top player in the transfer portal, and that wasn't because of projection. He has played at Arizona, and went far in the NCAA tournament last year. Like, I think, these are guys who have done things where Luke Goody played in the Big Ten for years. And I think Goody's been one of the more consistent guys, but as a collective, these guys just don't have confidence right now. And I do think that's on the coaching staff to build them up and to make them feel comfortable, A, in the system, and B, with their teammates, and C, with what they're doing, and reinforce the good, knock them for the bad stuff, but reinforce the good and push the good. And sometimes, guys are different. Some guys get built up with positive reinforcement. Sometimes you got to be a little hard on them. It depends on the guy, but you have to know your players and know what's going to work for them and individualize the way you coach them. And I just don't see a lot of that going on right now. I mean, and I say that I'm not at practice, but I say that because the results are not showing that it's being done. And so, yeah, I just think that with guys like Rice, with guy like Mbako, we saw Cannon Carlisle earlier the year miss shots for, taking some horrible shots for weeks and missing them all. It's a confidence thing and it's a mental game, and they do not have the infrastructure behind them to solve whatever's going on in there. And that's a problem because that's coaching.
So then how does a game like the Purdue game, where Indiana had that game and had a shot to win against one of the best teams, top 10 team at Mackey, a tough arena, why does it pop up every so often when Indiana can play well? What happens there in your mind? Certain players are off, certain other players are on. I guess that's just, again, the word we've used since the start of the season, Ryan, is inconsistent play, individually and collectively. But man, coming off of that Purdue game, you don't like losing those games, but you can tolerate watching that because it was one of their better games, and then it's not followed up. I think it happens in sports. I get it, but It's tough.
Two things are true. One, it was a rivalry game. You get up for rivalry games, even if it's your first year on campus. You've heard about how great Purdue is. Purdue was in the national championship game last year. These guys are going to get up for that game. I think that's part of it. I think the other part is the motivation of like, hey, if we win this game, it can kind of turn things. And so they came out and they played pretty well. I also don't think Purdue played particularly well in that game. They let Indiana run them off the 3-point line. Lawyer didn't play well. I didn't think they played very well. And some of that was forced by Indiana. I'm not taking all the credit from Indiana, but I do think that Indiana played tougher, smarter, attacked in that game, helped that Mbako played really well. And when he's going, the offense becomes a lot easier. But those things, you're right. Those things happen. It's a rivalry game and you expect that, but I don't know. And I don't know how you can't carry that. We were talking afterwards, Jared, Andy, and I were talking that the fact that like they had 2 games in a row that were very competitive and where the play was pretty good. You can't really fault the effort, but the execution, didn't get them a win. And Jared said, like, you could build on this and maybe go to the Kohl Center and make some noise. And I said the pattern of this program is to take a step forward and then 2 giant steps back. And that's what happened again. And I will say that pattern predates Mike Woodson. It goes back to the Archie Miller era and some of the Tom Crean era. And it's what this program does. I mean, I don't think anybody expected anything different tonight. If anyone convinced themselves that this was going to be the team that broke the curse at the Kohl Center, I'm sorry that you believe that, but no. So I don't think anybody really. I mean, it was a 10-point spread, and I thought that was being a little generous to IU because they don't play well on the road, and they just got spanked, and this is the pattern over the years.
Real quick, Daniel, the code is HOME23 for your first-time shoppers. If you want to get that Corso sweatshirt, I saw that you were asking about that in the chat. That's HOME23 promo code. And I'm going to put something up on the screen here. Dominic said that, other programs lose and lose games in a row. Woodson last year ended with the 5-game winning streak. You're seeing UCLA down, losing 4 right after the wildfires in their second trip east, lost some games. They've righted the ship. Iowa State, who is a 1 seed, now has fallen to a 3 seed. They've lost 3 in a row, including a devastating 19-point loss. But again, that's up to the coaches then and the players to right the ship, and that's what Cronin has done at UCLA. Otzenberger is going to try to do that here with Iowa State, and it gets done. And you get your team turned around. And it's just you can't afford many more losses at all. If we're trying to find some light at the far, far end of the tunnel, you still have 8 games left. 6 of them are quad 1 and 2 of them are quad 2. A winning streak puts you back in discussion. I'm not going to promise anything but that. But, the next game is important, and that's going to be the Michigan game. Any other things you want to talk about before we move on here?
No, I think we pretty much covered the stats. It's not really a night to get deep into the stats. It's guys, they suck. It's pretty
Here's
much
the stat:
what it is.
26-4. Remember that stat with 13:49, something like that. It was 24-4, and they scored coming out of that timeout. Or Indiana didn't score, and they scored on the other end. So that's the key stat of the game. All right, coming up on an assembly call. I guess we'll pass out a game ball and a Hoosier Hustle Award. We'll discuss a lingering question or two and then look ahead to Indiana's upcoming opponent. That's all next here on the Assembly Call. Stick with us.
Hi, this is AJ Moye. What's the only thing better than upsetting Duke in the Sweet 16? Celebrating it with friends afterwards. Join Jared, Andy, Ryan, and Coach for the assembly call after every IU basketball game. Go Hoosiers!
You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. I'm Coach Tonsoni here with the shot doctor himself, Ryan Phillips. and we're breaking down a loss tonight by the Indiana Hoosiers at the Kohl Center to Wisconsin. It's now time for our game balls presented by our friends Allie and James at Bloom Environmental. They want to help protect your home's air quality, and the best way to do that is to stop water at the source. Voted best of B-Town in basement services for 4 years running, their basement waterproofing and crawl space encapsulation is the best defense your home can have against mold growth and structural damage. Mention Assembly Call and get 10% off your system. Call today for a free estimate, or if you just want to hear Allie talk about anything. She is one of the nicest people in the world. Give her a call, but learn more at www.bloomenviro.com. That's www.bloomenviro.com. And maybe we'll get to see the two of them this weekend at the meetup.
So.
That would be good. One of the things, and again tonight, I'm trying to be fair and honest. I'm not a very happy Indiana fan right now, and one of the things I don't like to do is give out a game ball when you get down big and really don't show. I know we've had conversations about this, Ryan, for a long time, and so I'm just gonna throw this out to you. I think the game ball and the hustle award are the same person for me. And I know we have a rule against that. So maybe talk me out of that.
Hey, let's throw the book out the window. It's just you and me. Jared's not looking over our shoulder tonight, Coach. If he were on here, maybe he'd talk us out of it, but let's go. Let's break the rules. Let's go. I'm all for breaking the rules tonight.
I mean, who stood out tonight? I just think there was one player who stood out. Bryson Tucker.
Pick. I
6
was going to go for
rebounds,
game ball for sure.
9 points in 24 minutes. That would be my game ball. He was the one and I think he was the one who probably hustled. But maybe we can find another hustle award or something if you want to. But
yeah, I'm gonna go with Bryson Tucker for the game ball too. That stretch showed what kind of player that stretch early on showed early on. I don't even remember where it was. That whole game was a mess. I'm sorry, folks. It all blended together.
In the first half, after they were down 26-4.
That's what it was. Yeah. I just knew it was in a time where things weren't going well, and he played well. But yeah, that was my game ball. He was a +3. One of the few. He and Miles Rice are the only players in the positive tonight, which is shocking that Miles Rice played 30 minutes of that game and is somehow a +4. Makes no sense whatsoever. The stat is useless. But Bryson Tucker, and I'm going to use it now to justify Bryson Tucker, going with him with a +3 and 9 points, 2 of 3 from 3, which is nice. We've seen him expand his range a little bit, which is a positive. 6 rebounds as well, tied for the team lead. Didn't turn the ball over. I think he's the easy choice for me.
Very good. And Lisa, I respect Lisa quite a bit, and she has let me know that it can't be the same player. So,
all right, fine.
We got rid of Jared, but now we got Lisa, and I got to go find where her comment was to get it off the screen. Oh, we got it off the screen. There we go. Okay, Lisa, here we go. Now it's time for our Hoosier Hustle Award, sponsored by our friends at Evansville Security Services.
Hi, this is Anthony Leal, and it's time for the Hoosier Hustle Award. But first, I have some exciting news to share about our friends at Evansville Security Services. They've been acquired. They are now part of the team at Security Pro 24/7, which provides trusted and reliable security for your event or business, from Bloomington, my hometown, to Evansville, where Coach Calvert Chaney grew up, and everything in between. Just like hustle can't be measured by stats, prevention can't be measured either, but it has a huge impact on your bottom line and peace of mind. So let the security pros at Security Pro 24/7 help you prevent a bad outcome today. Visit securitypro247.com to learn more. That's securitypro247.com. And tell them Anthony Leal sent you.
All right, Ryan, who you got for Hustle Award? I did find someone that I think I could vote for.
It's such a tough one. I think I'm going to go with Trey. I'm going to go with Trey Galloway. 5 assists. He didn't have his best game, but yeah, he had 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He did turn the ball over 3 times, but he had a steal. In a weak field, I'm going to give it to him. I was thinking him or Luke Goody, basically.
I was going to go with Luke Goody. He also had some rebounds. I thought he really played hard. He was cutting hard. He was looking for his shot. So go ahead if you're still with us here in the chat. Galloway or Goody? Put that in, and we'll try to count it up and let you know here before the end of the show. Who do you think should get the Hoosier Hustle Award? So Galloway or Goody? Either. Calvin Sampson. Well,
Looks
we
like
got a lot of
Goody.
names.
Looks like Goody. It's Goody.
Looks like Goody? Okay.
Yeah.
So Goody gets that. Let's see. Updating, Bryson Tucker got his 3rd game ball, and then Goody is going to get his 4th game ball. So congratulations to
Hustle Award, not game ball. Hustle Award.
Our Hustle Award. Yeah, Hustle.
Can't
Award.
be the same person.
I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. The lingering question for me to you, Ryan, is what's Assembly Hall going to be like when we walk in there Saturday? Dusty May is coming back. Maybe we can talk a little bit about Michigan as well. Indiana has now lost 4 in a row, 6 out of 7. The last time I was there was the Illinois game, and it was ugly, and I'm not a proponent of that. I'm frustrated. I'm not happy, but obviously I'm in the media row. I'm not going to cheer or boo, but I think there are ways to show your displeasure, and I'm not here to tell anyone what they have to do, but it was tough during that Illinois game to hear and listen that happen in the hallowed grounds, the sacred place of where we love Indiana basketball. I have not been there when a crowd has been that angry, and the crowd and our chat and everyone else, they love Indiana basketball. And whether I agree with how they show that or not, this fan base is smart, it's passionate, and it deserves better. It's going to be interesting. Well, your thoughts on that lingering question?
It's I don't know. It's going to be rough, and I'm going to be there. And I'm not. I mean, I always look forward to being back in Indiana. Always look forward to going back to Assembly Hall. I am not looking forward to what that crowd's going to be like, and I would say to the people, you're a paying customer. You can do whatever you want. But also remember that people are watching, and a potential, if you want the coach gone, potential future coach is watching. The players, potential future players are watching. And I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do, but let's also remember we're Indiana fans and we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We hold our program to a higher standard, which I agree with, but we also hold ourselves to a higher standard. So that's all I would say. Again, not telling you what to do. You do what feels right. But I think that crowd has a chance to get real ugly, and I'm not looking forward to that. Maybe they'll come out and just whip the Wolverines, and it'll be great. And we'll finally have a live show after a win, which would be lovely in person in Bloomington. But yeah, there's a potential for some really bad stuff on Saturday, and I'm not looking forward to that. But I will love being in Bloomington and being back there and seeing all of you guys afterwards. But it could be a rough 2 hours.
Yeah, the thing I'm looking for is the cold beer at the upstairs afterwards. That's going to be cold no matter what happens Saturday. But yeah, I feel the same way. I have Kent says empty seats. There were quite a few at Illinois, people leaving at halftime. Again, we're not here to really kind of instruct people on how to be fans. I've kind of always believed in booing the coach or the program and not the players. But there's a comment, I'm sorry I don't give you credit here who said it, but there's a lot of money being made. People are donating and things like that. So it could be it's a whole different world with the transfer portal and NIL, and maybe some of that comes with the territory. If you're going to get paid, you might have to step up and,
completely fair.
If you don't like fans booing, play hard. I mean, it's simple, Ryan. Play hard, follow scouting reports, stop the 3-point shot, score the basketball, take care of the basketball, and you know what? This fan base will love you. And if you do it game in and game out, they will really love you. It's a simple thing. So I don't like the booing personally, but I get it. And I kind of boo silently inside my head, but people do whatever you want. We'll be there. Come say hi to us. And one more lingering question before we get to Michigan. Starting lineup. We saw going small to start the second half. Do you think that there's any change in the starting lineup? Does Galloway go back in for Leo and they still play two bigs? Is Goody going to start? Your thoughts on what might happen before the tip at Michigan?
Certainly should. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you would think logically that's the deal, that they're moving away from that two big lineup because of what happened at halftime. But we've seen a coaching staff very resistant to changing that. And so I don't expect it to change, but you would think that would be the logical thing to do. But I wish I could tell you, Coach. I wish I knew what they were thinking. Kind of glad I'm not, actually.
Here's the interesting thing. You got two bigs, but they play like 4 or 5 pick and roll too. So we're going to see Ballo and Renew if they do start against Golden. And who's the other? The really good. I can't think of his name now. The big kid for Michigan that can shoot the three and handle the rock. Why is that name escaping me now? I'm going to go look it up here real quick.
I haven't watched them much this year.
Oh, Danny Wolf. Wolf.
Yeah.
7 foot. They list him at the center, and then Golden at 7'1", the senior. So I bet they're gonna play both of those guys. But I'm telling you, from a basketball standpoint now, how does Renew and Ballo handle when they're in that pick and roll? Do you switch it because it's the 4 and 5? You know, Wolf can pull back. You go under. He can hit the 3. Now Purdue took him out of stuff in that blowout that Michigan had at Mackey Arena. But, boy, they run a lot of 4 or 5 pick and rolls with those two guys. And it'll be interesting to see about Michigan. Michigan comes in about a 5 or a 6 seed from our Delphi bracketology. They are currently 16-5. Wins, a lot of solid wins. Loss to Purdue was a big blowout loss, a surprise loss at Minnesota in overtime. Are the 2 losses in the Big Ten. They're 8-2 in the Big Ten. They play Oregon tomorrow night as we're recording this on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, they play Oregon before they come in to Bloomington on Saturday. And they are, what are they here in KenPom? 21st in KenPom. They have the 20th rated offense and the 25th rated defense going up against our Indiana Hoosiers. So, again, I think it'll be a tough game. Normally a home court would give Indiana the advantage in that situation, but Indiana has lost 6 out of 7. They're going to have to play really, really well. And the concern for me is that scouting report, because this is a different guard. When you got a 5-man who can pick and roll, get to the rim, and drive, defenders who really can't stop the drive, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. Remember to check out our friends at Home Field Apparel. Again, that promo code is HOME23 at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Ryan, time for last call.
Yeah, I would just say, I'm really excited to head to Bloomington this weekend and to see everybody upstairs after the game. What I'll say about the program, though, is that those fans that we're going to see this weekend and the people we're going to hang out with and the people we're going to sit in the stands with deserve better. They deserve better from this program. And I said it to open, and I'm going to close with what I opened. And this has been a couple shows in a row. I've just closed with what I said in the beginning. And it's, when you're so focused on looking behind you, when you're trying to move forward, you're going to run into things and you'll hit roadblocks. And Indiana has been looking backwards for a long, long time, trying to find answers to what's in front of it. They need to look forward. And they need to start over and clean the slate and get somebody in here who's going to create something new. That's how you win. That's how you're going to win a championship. And that's how you're going to return this program to the glory that we had back then. But it's not going to be trying to reach for the past. It's going to be grasping at the future. And so I think that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, what changes are going to be made. Certainly changes will be made after this year. I don't know what those changes will look like. But this can't go on. Indiana's 14-9 and 5-7 in the Big Ten with a $5 million roster. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And it's not just that they're losing, it's the way they're losing. And the lack of fundamentals, the lack of, just focused effort and energy, the lack of being able to change what they're doing and focus on the right things. And just get things moving in the right direction. Just doesn't exist with talented players. So those fans who are going to be at that game on Saturday deserve better than they've gotten over the last couple of weeks and over the last couple of seasons, to be honest. And I just think that a lot of people are fed up and ready for something to change. And we'll see what happens.
Ryan, I couldn't say it any better. I'm just going to let it go there. I look forward to seeing you. Safe travels. When you getting in? Thursday or Friday?
Thursday night, getting in around 5, have a dinner reservation, have a drinks reservation after. Going to be a nice late night, and then we're going to be ready to hit the ground running on Friday.
We'll be down after school, Amy and I.
Looking
forward
buddy.
to seeing everyone, and that's the most important thing. Let's stick together, Indiana fans. While we're frustrated with the basketball program, rightfully so, let's make sure we buy each other some drinks, pat each other on the back, tell some good jokes, do whatever we have to. We have a good time this weekend. Looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible, and hopefully we have something fun to talk about after the game on Saturday. And that'll do it for this show. If you want to see us do this live and be part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/assemblycall. Don't forget to go to substack.assemblycall.com to join our free email newsletter. Special thanks to Bob Thompson for the music you hear on the show, and special thanks to John Ringer of rigdesign.com for designing our logo. And thank you for listening. We'll be back to talk IU hoops again with you on Tuesday night. Until then,
Take it from me, Christian Wofford. Keep your elbows in and your eyes on. Go Hoosiers.
Hey, the show's over. Here I come, Coach Tonsoni. Catch me if you can, Coach T.
oh, double shout out from Mrs. Tonsoni tonight.
Are you staying in town Friday, Coach?
Yeah, I'll be in Friday and Saturday night.
Cool. Yeah.
So looking forward.
Good, man.
To,
Look forward to
always
seeing you.
looking
Looking forward to seeing all you guys on Saturday. We'll either commiserate or celebrate, one or the other, but it'll be fun regardless.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone. It's 9
Bye,
o'clock
guys.
where Ryan's at. It's midnight here. I gotta get going. So take care.
Bye, everybody.